I wonder about the ethical concerns with both there being another Red Scare in the United States against party influence, and also the very real phenomena of anti-Asian American hate in the United States. How do reporters manage those strains in their discourse, and how do you do that without censoring?
I can start because it's as a reporter and an editor, it's kind of like my biggest problem right now is to think every day about what we cover and whether that coverage is tough enough and honest enough about China, but also whether I'm feeding this sort of narrative, which is a like a demonization of China and everything. And so I think about every cover story that we do and whether what that is saying. I almost wonder whether I'm thinking about it too much. I used to think about this when I was in China for the New York Times, and people pointed out the New York Times is very biased, and you look at every story and you try to say, well, how many of these stories might be considered negative versus not so negative? Not like pro-China and anti-China and that simple, but what are people, if people are getting a stream from any publication, could they sit there at the end of the year and add them up and say, well, this is the impression you gave us this year? And if that impression is every story is an investigation, which is one reason I don't really want to be an investigative reporter, because that means like everything you're publishing is an investigation. Everything is kind of like, aha. So how do you think about the accumulation of all of your stories? If someone could read every story you've ever written on China, or any subject, what would the impression be? And does that reflect your own experience? And my experience in China was pretty amazing. I mean, good, bad, all over the place, like maybe any other country. And so I would like my reporting to reflect that. And I think reporters and editors ought to consider that in when you're putting together your package of stories. You don't want to hold back the investigations, but you also don't want every portrait of China to be a beast, even though there are things that are really ugly about China. And we definitely don't want to censor those things. But you want to think about what you're not covering. And my big ethical challenge now, and maybe through my whole career, but particularly now, is it complex enough? Is it nuanced enough? Are people seeing that these weren't easy decisions to make, not only in the reporting, but in the decisions about, like, how does a US company think about how do we engage with China and sell into China at this time? We've got factories in Xinjiang. We source cotton from Xinjiang. Where should we think about these? And I think just blasting these companies simply is too easy. You really want to try to put yourself in their shoes, in their positions, to understand the calculations they're making. Why are they making these decisions? What is it? What is happening every day? What are they hearing from their team in China? So I would like the reporting that I do, or the team that I work does, to get to the crux of the matter and ask the best questions, not uh, moralize too much or condemn too easily, but to say, I know they're complex. I may come down personally that this is a terrible thing to do, but I want to walk you through not only that they did this and it looks horrible, but the best part of that story may be, why did that happen? Did they not do due diligence? Did they not just see what was going on? Did the team on the ground lie to them? We're going to have a story in the Wire this weekend is about this very subject, which is, were you misled about what your company was doing in China? So that's kind of what I think we all have to grapple with, the ethical questions of, is your coverage of China balanced, fair, complex? Does it give your readers something to think about? Or does it just stack up their stereotype? And is it just like, I'm just feeding, the people who love to hate China more evidence so that they can hate China? So that's my week to week, day to day problem.